Kia ora everyone, my name's Zach and I love rugby. Welcome back to Hakatime Rugby. It's now time, we've just finished this match, Ireland versus Scotland, so it's time to review, recap, revise on this big game. Now the final score in this one, Ireland takes it 27 points to 3 in what you have to say was a very, very dominant display. Looking at this Irish team, they seem very well balanced across the park, and they seem to have attacking threats throughout in both attack and defence. The first half of this game started out with a really physical approach from Ireland, and watching this game, they just seem to have one of the better first halves than I've seen in this tournament from any team in this tournament yet. They were very, very dominant. They came away with a half-time lead at that point, putting on 19 points. Now, the standout performers for me, Johnny Sexton is probably the best defending first five in the game. Arguably, anyway, the best defending first five in the game. Between him, his strong, solid defence, and the rush defence from the other players within the back line in the Irish team, I really do think they've got one of the best defensive teams going around. Now, South Africa have an excellent rush defence, but this one in particular showed that they're able to put a significant pressure on the opposition and turn that around into an attacking form of defence. Scotland, on the other hand, they seem to struggle with the physicality, and they definitely struggle with that rush defence. And while they did have a number of chances, they just couldn't execute and complete some of the final passes or final plays to put points on the board and to put significant pressure on Ireland. That being said, this is also a very, very good test of wet weather rugby, and it's quite telling because while there has been a lot of talk about humidity and about heat in Japan, there is also a lot of rain we've seen so far. A lot of these games, particularly today, have suffered an element of rain, and playing wet weather rugby is going to be key depending on the conditions in this tournament. And this tournament really is throwing up a large different array of environments for teams to deal with. Now, Ireland seemed to play a lot better in wet weather rugby, and what was surprising is that their attack did not diminish even though the rain started to come in. They really were cohesive in their attack, and they looked dangerous with ball in hand continuously throughout that game. They come away with a very, very strong win, which puts pretty much a stamp on this pool, number one, but it also has a number of valuable insights for the rest of the tournament, which we're going to get into right now. So let's look forward further into Pool A and outcomes of Pool A that we can determine based on this result, and let's also look at what this means for the overall World Cup. Now, first thing I'll say in terms of Scotland, I didn't think they were far off the pace. They just couldn't seem to finish some of those last passes, and they just lacked a little bit of cohesion in their back line and interplay between the various players. So I don't think they're far from putting a full performance together. They'll have good opportunity to do that against a number of lower-ranked teams that should see a lot less pressure put onto their ball and should see them be able to execute on some of those moves that they've obviously been working on here. Looking at this pool now, you have 3 live competitors all vying for that second spot. I think we can say categorically that Ireland are going to go through as the top place getter in Pool A. Scotland, however, are going to be in a very, very difficult battle with both Japan and Samoa in order to cement their place in the quarterfinals. So I do believe they've got a lot left in the tank, and they should see some improvements in their performance. But if they don't, teams like Japan and teams like Samoa will be relishing the opportunity to try and beat a Scotland team that probably performed a little bit below their expectations. It'll be very interesting to see how Samoa goes in the next match, because I think by that stage we should see all of the pieces of the puzzle, and we should be able to determine how this pool is going to play out. Obviously, the matches are decided in the match, so there's still a lot of rugby to be played, but it's going to be very interesting to see how the performances go. Looking forward then to the quarters, semis and finals for these teams. Now, I predicted that Japan would beat Scotland and go through as the second place getter from Pool A. I'm not entirely sure that will be correct based on Japan's performance and Scotland's performance today. I do think Japan underperformed, and I would say Scotland slightly underperformed as well. Both can improve, and I expect both will improve. So the final outcome will be determined in their match, and that should be an excellent game. From Ireland's perspective, I actually think this is probably the most complete performance that we've seen at this Rugby World Cup yet. The All Blacks, while they did win against a very, very good Springboks team, both teams just seemed a little bit off the pace. The All Blacks were put under significant pressure in the first 20 minutes and couldn't match the physicality and the pressure. And then they managed to get some turnovers and execute with a counter-attacking ball. Now, you look at that game and you think, okay, well, New Zealand can be put under pressure, particularly at first 5, as well as the Springboks. Well, if you sustain attack for a period of time, there are opportunities for counter-attacks. Both of these teams, New Zealand and South Africa, have shown some weaknesses. I didn't see many weaknesses from Ireland in this game. And for that reason, I think they are somewhere near the top in terms of where I expect them to finish. It's going to be very, very interesting seeing the quarterfinal game against South Africa. But if I was to choose who was going to win that game right now, I would say Ireland, based on those two performances, are best placed to win a quarterfinal against South Africa. Now from there, they would need to go on to face either Australia or Wales at that point. Very, very likely for me, that team will be Wales. And Ireland has proven that they have the wood over Wales recently. So it's all to play for here. I think looking forward, I do see this, based on this performance, Ireland can go all the way to a final. At that point, it'll very much depend on who they're facing. But let's say it's either New Zealand or England. Very hard to see how this plays out. But I do think one thing. Based on the 2 games that I've seen recently, New Zealand, South Africa, Ireland and Scotland, I would say New Zealand are still favourites to lift the World Cup, but only slightly ahead of Ireland. Then just behind them, I would say you've got England, and then just behind them, and it's very, very close, probably South Africa on that performance. So Ireland has a huge opportunity in this Rugby World Cup, and if they can continue performances like that, and if they get a little bit of good luck along the way, who knows what could happen. That's my thoughts anyway. I'm going to come back with another video very, very soon. If you agree, or if you don't agree, please comment down below, because I'd love to get some debate going. You know, this World Cup has really come alive this weekend with all of these games, and it's excellent having discussion and debates with different people in the comment section. So please comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. Who do you think's now favourite after seeing all of these games? Who do you think is favourite now to win the Rugby World Cup? I'll be back soon. Like, comment, subscribe. See you guys soon.